Paintings have a life of their own that derives from the painter's soul. Vincent van Gogh. Art is much more than the piece you see before you. Each piece of art has a story behind it, regardless of the painting, as explained by one of the pioneers of the Expressionist movement. The piece I chose encompasses this, for it is a representation of one's inner self. After a psychoanalytic critique of Robert Beatty's Currents, the album cover for Tame Impala's Currents, it can be concluded that it is an abstract expression piece, for it fully depicts the emotion and state of mind of Kevin Parker at this point in his life. The piece is used as a way to convey the album's theme. In an interview with Robert Beatty, the artist who completed the piece, and the Creators Project, he states how he used Kevin Parker's music and ideas for the concept. Quote, Kevin Parker got in touch and already had the concept in mind. I had only heard a couple rough mixes. I went mostly off the concept Kevin sent over, which was all based on vortex shedding and turbulent flow. Basically, the way a gas or liquid moves around an object. End quote. The music on the album takes one through the experiences faced by Parker, mainly focused on how he has developed as a person from loneliness and introvertism to something new, but he constantly questions what he is leaving behind. For example, on the lyrics on the last song of the album, New Person, Same Old Mistakes, the lyrics read, quote, I can just hear them now. How could you let us down? They don't know what I've found or see it from this way round. This referring to the constant judgment he feels he will receive with his new music as he changes as a person, and he feels as though he may be leaving behind his old self. These ideas are exemplified in the work of Robert Beatty, as the image shows a round object as it moves along the straight lines, leaving behind a trail of distorted lines almost following off the page. I believe this is to represent Parker's development as a person. To compare, the same way I used the lyrics to derive meaning from the Currents album cover, by treating it as though it was a writing about art from the author, is the same way that Georgia O'Keeffe brings meaning to her piece, Black Iris. For example, as we read in Exploring Art textbook, O'Keeffe wrote a letter describing her love for nature, leading the viewer to the conclusion that her piece, that some believe to be a representation of feminism and others believe to be a representation of nature, would most likely be nature. On the other hand, it's widely disputed and it's up for different interpretations, just as the album cover of Currents is. As Robert Beatty mentioned earlier, turbulent flow was essential to the concept of the piece. But why does it fit so well with the album? Well, coincidentally, Kevin Parker, when he was young, his father enrolled him in an engineering degree in a university, where he most likely learned this concept. Not only that, but Kevin using this knowledge that he gained in a past life, in a life that he fears that he may be throwing away, he uses to put into his music that he's making today and build off of progression. The similarities between Turbulent Flow and the piece are clear. The sphere flowing through the current, leaving behind a distorted current, relating back to the song lyrics and the general theme. Robert Beatty's piece gives a take on modern abstract expressionism. How do we determine whether something is abstract? Well, as stated by Robert Rose Courtier in his book Abstract Objects, Ideal Forms, and Works of Art, an epistemic and aesthetic analysis, he defines an abstract object by stating, quote, "We are not talking about the mind's physicalistic properties. We are talking about an experience of consciousness that does not directly hook into the actual world." End quote. Robert Beatty's piece exemplifies this, for it captures the emotional state of Kevin Parker at this point in his life. The piece represents his current state of consciousness and the action of him being carried through what he calls life's turbulent flow. Considering that it describes Parker's state of consciousness, it fits by not directly tying into the real world. This idea, combined with expressionism, which according to an article from the University of Iowa Museum of Art, consists of, quote, "qualities such as vibrant color, strong brush strokes used to express emotion and state of mind." End quote. The colors in Beatty's piece were meant to give the viewers a retro feel, although personalized for originality, because it's supposed to be specific to Kevin Parker's experience. The lines as well have specific meaning to the piece and its state of mind, as I will explain in comparison with the piece we've gone over. Although these two pieces seem very different initially, they use many of the same techniques to achieve their emotion or feel. First off, both of these pieces can be psychoanalytically criticized because they both are built on emotion and state of mind and experience. Currents by Robert Beatty uses line to direct the current of the sphere. Direct it into the direction of the shading, which is supposed to represent the unknown of Kevin Parker's life. On the other piece, Tomorrow Is Never, it uses line in the sense of those structures, although not in the same way. Currents gives a sense of happiness or some sort of beauty. It uses vibrant colors, whereas Tomorrow Is Never sticks with a lot of gray and glum colors, a lot of shaded colors. And the lines are very sporadic. They show some sort of fantasy, dream, or even impending doom. Also, the shading is used differently. The shading in Tomorrow Is Never is meant to give it the same sense of being a dream or being, somewhat eerie, whereas the shading in Currents is supposed to portray the unknown. Possibly beautiful, possibly not. Unknown to the viewer. It can be concluded at this point that Robert Beatty's piece, Currents, on the topic of Kevin Parker, is indeed abstract expressionism. This is because the piece exemplifies Kevin Parker's emotions, his state of mind, and the progression from his past self to his new self. We've delved into the lyrics of this album, we've delved into Kevin Parker's personal life, and we've delved into other pieces to help better explain how this piece represents abstract expressionism. Thank you.